So hammer cocked. All right, ready, Brian? Here we go. 3, 2.
Okay, Jeremy, we'll start with you. Do you remember the first time you learned about menstruation?
The earliest memory I can think of is like a grade 7 health class where it came up. And it was sort of meshed together with nocturnal emissions and like the birds and the bees. And I think I was like a goof in school. So I was just like I was like, how can I make a joke about this? What can I say to like almost get me kicked out of this class right now?
I remember it. Like, I feel like most of my education or knowledge around periods and menstruation has come from like through the scientific lens of like learning about it in like grade 5 or 6 when you get that sort of birds and the bees talk. But then I feel like it wasn't until we started doing Sick Boy
100%
that I started to understand not just like what's the science that's happening to your body sort of thing, but like the actual the mental health impact that menstruating can have on a monthly basis. I'm curious what you think about this, Jer, because a lot of the guests have talked about, especially when we talk about like the luteal phase and that hormonal, that the like anger and sadness and these like all these like sort of quote unquote negative emotions that come with it. And they're like, oh, you don't want to be around me when I'm on my period or whatever. And obviously we all know like the worst question you can ask if your like partner is upset is like, oh, are you on your period right now? Even if it comes from a place of like empathy where you're like, oh, like I want to know, can I support you? Are you on your, it's like, that is the worst thing to say.
So my good friend of mine, Michaela, when I was in university, this was like our first year at university, and her and I had become like really close friends. We were in theater school together. So like, very tight knit group, but her and I, like, we became like brother and sister. And there was this period where she was in immense pain, like beyond anything I would ever have been able to conceive when it comes to period pain. And I remember asking her, like, is this normal? Are you okay? Like, should I call 911? Like, she was really in distress. And it was the first time I ever heard the term endometriosis. Had no idea what it was. That was the first time it ever like clicked to me that there's periods, but then there are people who have periods that struggle with their like menstruation, like there's menstruation health issues that surround menstruation itself. And I had no idea.
It's almost like there's this like invisible line of like threshold of like what sort of amount of pain you should be able to tolerate is. Like, let's say, I'm sure this situation exists and is probably not that uncommon, but like your mother has not had really intense period pain, and then you just happen to have really intense period pain. And so like you're communicating this idea that like my period pain is really intense, and your mother, who doesn't have that experience, is like, oh, well,
this is just what we go through.
This is what we go through. You just gotta, it'll be over in a couple days or whatever.
Even if mom did have super intense pain, right?
Right, and was never told that that was
because the generation that brought her up said the same thing to her. Well, honey, this is it. Like this is what we go through. So you just gotta bite down and just bear it.
Yeah. When we started Sick Boy and we had our first conversations about, women's health or vaginal health, or specifically about periods, and endometriosis, seeing the response to, a group of curious guys sitting down and talking to a woman about their experience and really trying to understand that, was really validating, because I didn't realize how much it felt like women or people who menstruate wanted us to be interested in that. And when I say us, I mean, men in general. I feel like stereotypically periods are things that like guys don't want to talk about or guys will shy away from.
The whole like growing up and having peers, especially guys that were like oh, like too much information or like whatever, I would always be like, what? Like, why? I don't know. Like, I don't get it. I don't get that.
It's different.
The like disgust around periods has always been something that I just never really understood. Actually, we asked in this series a couple of times about period sex, and we had folks answer that like they're into it. We have folks answer that it's definitely not something that they're ever interested in. We never really had an opportunity to ask like a man about their thoughts around period sex. How do you
All the time.
Yeah,
I
right.
love period sex.
Yeah. I've never. That's another thing I've never really understood. Like
Also, blood doesn't gross me out.
No.
And like, yeah. I mean,
not to yuck anyone's yum, but like, if you all right, I get it if it's like if you have personal views on like the hygiene things, which we heard from like some of the women. Okay, totally like understand. But like from the male point of view, like if having sex with someone on your period is disgusting to you, are you just like bypassing all the other liquids that come with sex? Like all those, like just lubrication of a vagina, like that doesn't gross you out?
Yeah.
But because the lubrication is red,
it's a color thing.
Like that makes no sense at all.
If you're eating ass, then you shouldn't have a problem with you shouldn't have a problem with oral, even on a period. I'm just saying.
You've got a point.
I'm just saying.
Yeah, I mean, hey.
I'm just saying.
I've never seen a cup like this. This red one. Like this is so. I always just pictured like I've seen them. I've had partners that use them.
Yeah.
I've had partners that tried them. I always saw just like a clear, almost plastic.
Yeah.
But man, like the other day I was looking at this while we were sitting on the set, and I noticed like this little like nub in here, which I think actually very smart in terms of design. Very smart to put like these little nubs on it, because I think this is meant to be like grabbed to help pull it out.
Yeah.
Which the cups that I've seen that my past partners have used didn't have this little like nipple to grab onto.
Okay.
But cool party trick though. You know, you pull this out at a party and shots for everyone around. I'm pretty sure like that's a perfect ounce. You want to never be invited back to a dinner party again where you're like, hey, you know what? I don't like any of these people. You just go tequila. Anyone tequila?
It is a nice little like goblet to bring, like
it is.
Goblet to go.
Yeah, yeah, totally.
But I imagine that it would be hard to get this in the right place, because like I think somebody was saying before too, like there's an art to folding it and inserting it. But if you fold it and insert it, one, it's kind of like hard to like shove in there, and then you have to like rely on it opening up, sort of like not.
And then think
janked
about
up.
like, I mean, think about this for a second. Actually, think about this because you don't have a vagina. So
yeah.
Firstly, imagine you have a vagina.
Yeah.
Okay. Secondly, imagine this thing in your vagina.
Yeah.
After you've tried to put it in.
Yeah.
My guess is once that's up and in there, if you didn't place it right, and let's say it's like, I don't know, like this. It's just, it just feels like that. Like
Here, try to get it in here and make it work.
Okay, well, Jesus, Brian.
See how it's kind of janked up there? Oh, and then we're assuming that your vagina is cavernous too. Yeah.
Yeah, like honest to God. Yeah, you actually, I mean, that wasn't that bad.
Does that feel good for you?
What? You son of a bitch. So, okay, I thought all tampons, prior to doing this show, I thought all tampons had to be shot
They
through
needed a gun. They needed a gun.
Like, this is the gun, this is the ammo.
Yeah, yeah.
So I was like, oh yeah, you can just buy the bullets.
Yeah.
You buy a case of bullets, you reuse this. Like, this never,
yeah.
You just have this. This sits in your purse, you wash it, you keep it, and then you just load up your ammo with your little period
That's what I thought too. And I thought that people were like raw dogging, like if they weren't using the gun,
Sure, you just
that they were just raw dogging the ammo straight. Like,
right. I didn't realize
that it
there's-
wasn't supposed to be used.
and I didn't
without a
realize
gun.
that there was a like if you look at this, I mean, I don't like I don't see a tail at all. So like unless it was opened, I would have no idea that there's there it is.
Oh.
See, like it's so interesting. So yeah, so I thought this was like a. I also when I look at this, I feel like this thing, like how much oomph do you think this has to like?
Do you think you can shoot it out?
Yeah, like you know those party poppers, like where you.
Do you think
like
you can hit
pull
me
the
with
thing,
that?
and it's like confetti. I don't know. Do you think it'll go?
Yeah, do it.
I also like. I mean, stupid. I've actually never handled one of these before, but I always just kind of thought too. You just like pull the string.
Just shoot
make
it.
no fucking sense. Okay, so do you want to see if it'll? I don't think it will. I don't think it will shoot. Well, I broke it. Oh! Whoa! Oh no!
It's actually interesting. I kind of gave you
Oh, I wonder.
ones where you have to lock it first.
Yeah,
Wait,
we-
lock it first? What does
yeah,
that mean?
Yeah. So again, it's like a gun, right?
Oh,
so
you
think
cock
you're
it.
cocking it back. Yeah. Yeah. So hammer cocked. All right, ready, Brian? Let's see if I can do this without. Here we go. 3, 2. Hey, if I
If it
didn't
didn't have the tail?
if I didn't catch it by the tail, it probably
Yeah.
would hit you right in the eye.
Yeah, would have. Are you familiar with these?
I am actually. Before we get into that, I do want to tell you a story about this
Okay.
that I think is like I think everybody needs to hear, and I know you've had a very similar experience here.
Okay. Yeah.
So I had a partner who used tampons. She had her period. She had used a tampon, and so it must have been like a night where we like had a night out. We went home. We had sex.
No.
She didn't realize that she forgot that she had a tampon in, and so like days and days and days go by, and she does not realize that this thing is in there, and we end up having sex again one night, and I was like, man, there's something feels off. And we come to the conclusion that like maybe there's something in there, and she starts to think like, oh fuck, is there a tampon inside me? So she went to the bathroom, and she came out, and she's like, I'm pretty sure I have a tampon in there, and I can't get it. So I was like, oh okay, all right, I will. Do you want me to call someone? No, I was like, yeah, I'll help you. So I went in and. So I went in and I had to like I had to go in fishing for it, and I latched onto this thing, and I had to like ask her because part of me was like I don't want to pull out something that's not it, like I don't want to hurt you. So I was like, is that it? Do I have it? And she's like, yeah, I think so. And so I pulled it out, and so this thing had been in there for like almost it was about a week. It was like a week, maybe a little bit over a week. And it looked like, so I had it by the tail, pulled it out, and it like, this is so disgusting. It looked like a little like dead rat. It was so like jarring. But here's the thing. I didn't know at that time either that how dangerous that is.
Yeah.
Because with this being stuck inside you for a long period of time, it can lead to toxic shock syndrome, which is very scary.
Yeah.
Very, very like unfortunately horrifying to
You can
witness
die.
and
You can
or-
die from it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, one of the most like scarring incidents ever. I guess I shouldn't say scarring because like when it was over, I was like, that was metal. That was sick. I'll never forget this. I also had a partner who had an IUD, and her IUD had, unbeknownst to both of us,
Dislodged.
Yeah, it had been dislodged to like some degree. So it wasn't like actually in the place that it was meant to be fully. And we were having sex, and I had this sensation that I was like getting scratched by metal on the tip of my penis.
And you were.
which I was. That's exactly how it felt. But in my mind, I was like, well, that doesn't make sense.
Was it a copper IUD?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. And so this happened like 2 or 3 times. I didn't say anything because I was like, maybe, am I like,
it would be a
maybe
weird
it's a
question.
me problem,
It would be a weird question to be like, do you by any chance have metal in your vagina?
Totally. Right. And now I knew that she had an IUD, but I also didn't know what that meant. I didn't know where does an IUD sit? For all I knew, it was beyond the cervix. Like, I have no idea. I know there's a whole process.
If somebody told me they had an IUD, I'd be like, oh, you have a roadside bomb?
Yeah, that's it. IED.
Oh, right.
So this happened a couple times, and then I brought it up and I said, I feel like I'm being scratched. And we had this discussion where she was like, what? Like, are you sure? And I was like, I swear to God, I feel like there's like
there's a cat in your vagina.
It literally felt like have you ever seen like a little spring off of like a, I don't know, like a clip or something?
Yep.
Like one of those miniature springs, and the edge of it just had like a little piece that was like turned out. And I was like, that's how it feels. And I could like almost see like a abrasion on my penis. And so she ended up getting her IUD checked out, and it turns out that her IUD was dislodged, was not where it was meant to be, and that's exactly what the issue was.
You know what these are?
Diapers. I mean, basically, like that's basically a really discreet. It's like a sports diaper.
It is like a sports diaper.
But it's not going to help you if you shit yourself. That's for sure.
I actually didn't realize how much like
they're
like this feels like a winter jacket,
hefty,
or like a nice fall jacket.
I would, one thing I was interested about after getting my hands on a pair is
like when you purchase a pair.
No.
They're way thicker than they probably look on camera.
Your vagina must get so hot. Like,
right?
Your crotch must be so hot wearing this. Like if you wore this in the summer.
Yeah, it's a jacket. It's
crazy.
A fall jacket on your vagina.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, yeah. If you get a cold vagina during the winter,
it would be amazing to get a
pair of these.
Just to like wear it, just to go. Like I imagine if you lived in an apartment building in Canada and it was like a nice fall day where it was like 12 degrees out, and you went and sat out just in those, your vagina would be the perfect temperature.
Yeah. I mean, I cannot imagine wearing these in the summer, but even like just like day to day wearing this, and you're just free bleeding into them. If you're having to change out your period products, like if you're using a tampon or a pad and you're changing that out like 4 to 5 times a day, and you're just wearing these throughout a day, I mean, I don't know. I feel like I know that this is not the same. I know what I'm about to say is so stupid and it's not the same, but this is the way that my like pea brain male like way to rationalize this in my head of how it might feel is like if I was walking around just pissing in my pants all day, by the end of the day, I would feel pretty gross.
Yeah.
And so like, and I know pee and blood and the amount of pee that comes out of me versus the amount of blood that comes out of a person that's menstruating are very different. But still, like if I was bleeding out of myself, out of my crotch all day wearing a pair of these, which I'm assuming like you're going to be wearing the point of this is to wear this throughout the day. So like no.
People actually change it throughout the day.
Holy. So people are buying like 5 pairs of these and changing them out 5 times a day.
But this feels like not an option for like heavy flow on day 1 or day 2.
But also, but even if your flow is not that heavy, if you're changing this out 5 times a day, think about.
Okay, if I had to change my underwear 5 times a day.
Right. Think about the difference between putting something in you and pulling it out, throwing it into a waste bin 5 times a day by just going to the bathroom, versus soaking your underwear and having to change out your underwear 5 times a day. That just
there's not a chance that I would.
No. Now, just to like, since we got all the products here, and this is the Aruna Revolution series, holding on to this product here, which is Aruna's pad. Which again, like if I'm looking at all this, all like bias aside, so not to mention the compostable element to this, I think that out of all these products, this is probably the one that I would just go for.
You're a pad guy.
Yeah, I would say.
If I'm imagining my personal preference for these products, my issue with using pads or tampons would be the environmental side. Like I would probably I would
So
probably
much waste.
want to try this because it feels like the Diva Cup, because it feels like the most like sustainable option of the group of products. And then like, you know, maybe you like, are there like, this feels like the winter version of these things. Like, is there like a summer version of these that you could like double up and maybe use?
I really couldn't tell you. I don't know.
But knowing
yeah.
that's because like it's so shocking to me that there's no compostable, like truly environmentally friendly options of these other products.
Because because there's just like so many. How sticky do you think this is? Do you think this is just?
I didn't realize that.
Dude, that thing
I didn't
sticks.
realize that they stuck like that.
The other great thing about this is like you're carrying this around, you know, and like you run into someone who just like, I don't know, just like a truck drove by and a rock like flew off from the pressure of the tire, like split it up and it hit you in the head and you're bleeding. Like you could take this and just literally like this would be
It's
like,
a big Band-Aid.
yeah, it'd be like
Yeah.
walk around like, oh, thank you so much, man.
Yeah.
Thank you, saved my life.
So what would you guys say was the most surprising thing you learned while working on this project?
Oh, easy.
What's yours?
20 billion pads and tampons in landfills in North America alone every year. That like the thing that just totally rocked my world was that stat. Like that's like the thing that blows my mind about that stat is that stat alone is wild to think of. Also, I cannot conceive of that number. Think about what that would visually look like. 20 billion pads and tampons. Like that's enough to like crush you. You know, like that's enough of these paper like thin pads to crush you and kill you.
I think one of the things I've been surprised about is and it feels a little bit hard saying this because I'm not sure how people generally feel about this, but like anecdotally from this experience, I find it surprising how little people who menstruate know about their own, you know, how their own body works and the process.
Totally.
I think they're quite familiar, obviously, with the experience. Like a lot of the conversations that we've had about, you know, the personal challenges or the you know, the experience of going through your first period, or your experience in dealing with the pain. Obviously, they're quite familiar with that and know their bodies in that way. But the actual like what's going on and what's happening, it feels like most people don't really know what's happening to them.
You know what? Actually, I have a nephew, and he's 7. I think I would tell him, you should go out of your way to learn as much as you can about this. As soon as you start talking about it in school, you should sit down with your mom and get all the information you can get and just like keep that in your brain, because having that knowledge is going to inform the way that you interact with the females in your life, which is only going to do you good. It's only going to make your relationships with those people stronger, because you'll have a deeper understanding. People will be surprised, you know?
It's a good party trick.
Totally. Right. And also it will potentially put you in a position where people feel like they can lean on you in moments where they maybe feel like they have to talk to someone, not even about menstruation, but just having those sort of signals of being understanding of what other people can go through is enough to make you a person that people feel like they can trust and they can go towards, which I think is a really like valuable thing to have, a valuable characteristic that I think is like, you know, can only serve you as you grow.
The other thing that I was thinking I mean, that was a great answer, Jer, obviously.
Yeah, thanks. I know.
But the other thing I was thinking about is, like, if I could go back and talk to him, I don't have the luxury of having a nephew that looks exactly like me. But if I could go back and talk to my younger self, I would want to tell me that everyone's experience is unique and different. And so that, like, if you have one experience with a partner who menstruates, you've had one experience with a partner who menstruates. Your next partner might have a totally different experience. And so just to be like open to the idea that, just because somebody's experience is one way doesn't mean that that is a reflection of everybody else's experience, and to be like empathetic and compassionate for each individual's unique experience. I think that particularly comes from like conversations with people who have endometriosis or other things like that, when you realize like, oh, okay, this can look a lot of different ways, and you need to be able to be compassionate for people who, experience the toughest versions of that thing.
Yeah, like think about this. The fact that it's not required by law across the entire country to provide menstrual products in public bathrooms is bananas. Like, that's nuts. Can you imagine going to a public bathroom in a building where none of the stalls had toilet paper? It was just like, well, you didn't bring your own toilet paper? Sorry, buddy. Looks like you're going to be walking around with a shitty ass. And again, I know poop and periods, I keep having to state this. I know they're different things, but like, of course that should be in there.
Yeah,
because
definitely.
That's something that I experience every single day, just like everybody else does. Just because 50% of the population has a thing that they experience every single month, every single day around the country, people are experiencing this. Just because it's 50% of the population, we don't have to also supply them with the thing. I can tell you right now, if men were gushing, whatever, like, sure, let's say men were bleeding out of their dicks once a month. I can tell you right now, there would be whatever it is that we would come up with to fix, like, to gather that blood, and that would be in every bathroom.
What would we come up with?
A tube. Like Kush said, a tube.